Omega Metroid podcast. My name is Andy Spateri, joined as always by Dakota Lasky. Dak, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Yeah, I don't have much. I guess I don't really try too hard to have like some interesting tidbit of, what my weekend does usually, but especially this time, yeah, nothing, not much going on. I actually just finished up my recent season of casting collegiate Valorant, which was really fun. We had a really good grand finals between York University and University of Ottawa. Really hype. Went to game 3. Yeah, that was really hype, and actually I'm kind of sad that the season's over because I was really enjoying that. But looking forward to whatever my next commentary gig is. And yeah, that's really all I've got going on lately. What about you?
You know what you have going on lately, Dak, which I saw, which is like my life right now is springtime allergies.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my God,
I'm dying over here. My God.
Like I don't remember what day it was. It was Friday or Saturday. My allergies were. Oh, I think it was Saturday. My allergies were truly the worst they've been all year. It was so bad. I hate it.
Oh man. And so I was painting my bedroom this weekend, and so we moved all of our like stuff out of the room or whatever, which kicked up the dust, and then like springtime allergy. Oh my God, just everything combined. It was horrible. I sound horrible. I feel So yeah. worst time of the year, but I guess it comes with nicer weather, so I'll take it. Can't complain too much, I guess. But we got getting right into business here. We got a ton of questions left over from last week when we did our Discord AMA. We had so many questions, particularly from our man Big Griff, the Accursed Hunter 01, that we just decided to call an audible and do 2 episodes based on Discord Q&A. And we got some room for new questions in there too. So we have a lot to get to today. So let's just dive right in and get going here, Dak. What say you?
No, why not? Let's get right into it. I feel like this is the best time to as well. We got a ton of questions, and I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's something in the air. I feel like there's some good energy going on. I think we're going to get some real actual Metroid news soon, and so I feel like it's good. Like we're taking care of some questions. We're talking with some awesome listeners of the show and, discussing their really good questions and topics, and I feel like that's a great opportunity to do all that just before we get some actual Metroid news, which we haven't had in forever, and that's how I'm feeling, so I'm ready to get into it.
All right. Let's get it kicked off with a question from Accursed Hunter 01. Considering Metroid isn't known for its story, whenever Metroid 5 is discussed, why is the story the most talked about aspect? The potential story is the only thing we have to go off since Metroid Fusion came out 18 years ago, but how the game might play and the places Samus might go is rarely discussed, and I find that odd. Well, my friend, we actually have an entire episode dedicated to this, which you should check out. But I think that people talk about the story because, we assume it's going to play like a 2D Metroid game. That's kind of the assumption. We assume there will probably be some like upgrades and new stuff and whatever. And that's kind of par for course in Metroid games. But like Fusion was really the first Metroid game to like really, go off the deep end and tell like a really compelling story. And so, and not to mention the fact that it ended with such a cliffhanger. So I think that it's natural to assume that the continuation from that would follow in the story department and hopefully resolve the cliffhanger from Metroid Fusion. So, I feel like that's probably why people are focused on the story so much, is just because that little thread has been dangling for, 19 years now.
Yeah. I definitely disagree with a portion of the story where it says, the places Samus might go and even how the game might play is rarely discussed, because I do feel like a lot of people discuss those aspects of the game too. But you're right, like what we know is the story as it ends in Fusion, so that gives us a tangible thing to discuss about what the story of the sequel is going to be, because very likely it's going to have to do with Fusion. So like that's something that we can tangibly speculate on, whereas the gameplay could be it could be a Metroid game. It's most likely going to be playing like a Metroid game we expect, but it could be anything because we don't know anything about the game. So like the only thing we know about the Metroid Fusion sequel is what we can infer based on the story, which I think is just better for speculation probably, because you can really bring up anything regarding gameplay. And I do think people discuss like I mean we've discussed like where we like you said where we think Samus might end up in the story or how it might play and whatnot, the evolutions 2D Metroid might
Hmm.
take. So I think those are topics that the community definitely discusses as well. But everyone likes a good story, so I'm not surprised that people want to see the continuation of one as well.
Well, and I mean, the places that Samus would go are directly tied to the story, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
true.
and to a lesser extent, the gameplay as well. So yeah, that's probably why. Um, all right, Griff is back with another question here. Have any of you played any Metroid ROM hacks? If yes, which one? If no, why? So I have not played any ROM hacks, although I have watched a playthrough of Metroid Rogue Dawn, which is a ROM hack of Metroid for the NES. That looks pretty cool, actually, and I would play that. I don't know. I guess I just haven't got around to it. I mean, you know me. I don't like to play a bunch of games on my PC. If it was like if I could hack my 3DS, which I probably easily could, and put the ROM on there, I would do that. But that's probably the reason why more than anything.
Yeah, I definitely, I think it would make a really good episode if we played a bunch of ROM hacks, right? And like gave our thoughts on them, right? Like maybe like picked a few of the most popular ones and played them.
Yeah,
I think that
yeah.
would make for a good episode. I personally, I've seen, as you said, gameplay of Metroid Rogue Dawn, and I've never played it myself. But I also watched gameplay of the Metroid Fusion sequence breaking ROM hack that I think came out sometime last year or the year before. And that's like that kind of apparently it makes the I didn't watch like too much of it, but it makes the game apparently a little more or less linear and like more open and more exploration focused. So
Right.
maybe that's something up your alley actually. But
Yeah, that sounds cool.
looking through ROM hacks, just I was looking at the question before this. I actually didn't realize how many ROM hacks exist for Metroid. Like there are tons of them and of varying qualities, of course. But there are a lot of good ones too, and for all different kinds of 2D Metroid games. So that's something I think we should definitely look into because I've never been someone who has jumped into ROM hacks for any game very much. But I didn't realize like the sheer volume of ROM hacks, which makes sense. It's not like you're making a whole new game, so it makes sense that there are a lot of them. I just never really thought about that. But there's some really cool ones. Like I found this site, Metroid Construction, which seems to have a ton of Metroid ROM hacks and like ratings and all of that. So I guess it's like a kind of plug for the site, but it looks cool, and I'm gonna check it out. I feel like that might be a cool episode to do. But yeah, not something that I personally got into, but it's now that you're quite. I'm glad that you asked it because now I'm very interested in looking into all these.
I feel like somebody in our Discord was talking about Hyper
Yeah,
Metroid as
yeah,
well, which is
yeah.
like an enhanced Super Metroid, which seemed pretty cool. And,
Yeah.
and again, something up my alley. So, yeah, I mean, I think that we'll definitely do some ROM hacks in the future. Or maybe that's why we haven't played them, so that we can save them for the podcast, by God.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's keep it going, and let's get to Griff's next question here. Remember how the Varia suit negated acid damage in Zero Mission? Do you think that will ever come back?
Uh,
I think so.
if there's acid again,
Yeah, or
maybe.
like fire or lava or whatever. Why not?
Well, I mean, I think maybe they're asking because like the negating lava damage kind of persisted more than negating acid damage, like in Zero Mission, because that was more of a thing in that game.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, sure. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I think by at some point, like Samus's suit, the various suits should really be like stopping a lot of like environmental stuff, and then like gravity suit and stuff like that is changing physics, and then you go from there. I mean, that's kind of how like the progression of her suits have gone. But at the same time, I'd also be down for like different ways for the suits to work too. But I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna run into a situation where Samus is gonna end up knee deep in acid again. If she is, I would hope that she has the various suit
Yeah.
feature to negate that damage. But who knows? Maybe it will come back. I don't know.
All right. His next one is kind of a deep cut here that I actually don't really have a lot of input on deck, so I'll just let you take the lead here. Do
Okay.
you think that an animated Metroid show slash series of sorts, directed by Gendy Tartakovsky, I probably just butchered that, would be good? Based on Gendy's work on Samurai Jack, it could be a good fit. So I'm going to be honest. I know what Samurai Jack is, but I've never really watched it, so I feel like I don't have an opinion on this. But if you do, take it away.
You've never seen Samurai Jack, really?
No,
Oh
not
man.
really. No.
Well, they also yeah, I don't mean I've never pronounced Gendy Tartakovsky. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. But he also did Primal, which was really good. That was, or I think it's actually still ongoing, or there's a new season coming out this year. That's really good and is very not really Samurai Jack-ish, but kind of, and very the same kind of style. Samurai Jack is really good. I think one of the best animated shows of all time. So like, yeah, obviously, if there was a Metroid series based or like in the style of Samurai Jack, I'd be watching that frame one. But that kind of style I think is really good. Very minimal in terms of characters per scene. Very much about person versus environment a lot of the time. And which I think is obviously very much like Metroid 2 Primal's the same kind of way. So yeah, I think in that sign, and it's a very stylistic kind of anime too, which or not anime, anime. I mean, it's not an anime, but it's an animated show, so I don't know, whatever. But that kind of style, I think a stylistic Metroid animated series would be really good. Like Castlevania is obviously something that we hear a lot in terms of both like a type of show and structurally too, but also
by the way,
aesthetically.
the season 4 trailer, holy.
Yeah, that looked really cool. There was also the announcement of the League of Legends animated series for Netflix. There was a trailer that came out today, and that looked really cool. And I haven't watched too much. I don't know how dialogue heavy that'll be, but that looked cool. Anyway, yeah, I would definitely be about this, like something in a Samurai Jack kind of style. I think it would be great. Metroid doesn't have too much dialogue. I think when it's less dialogue, the better a lot of the time, and I think that kind of style of like he's obviously a very prolific director and creator, so I would absolutely love that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I wouldn't say no to a Metroid show, honestly, in pretty much any artistic style. I've heard nothing but good things about Samurai Jack.
Any style. Well, what's a style you wouldn't want to see? That's what I'm interested in. A style you wouldn't want to see a Metroid show in.
I mean, I think if the show and the writing is good enough, it truly can overcome the stylistic like presentation, right? Like Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, I think is a terribly ugly game, like horrible graphical art style. What? Oh, it's awful.
What?
But like the game itself is pretty decent and is able to overcome that.
Wow, that's not the opinion I thought I would hear from a Zelda fan, but I don't know. I thought Twilight Princess is pretty cool. So you'd be down for like a live action comedy Metroid TV series, right? Because I mean that's
yeah, but live action comedy isn't like the art style though. We're talking strictly about like the aesthetic of the show.
No, I know.
Like the animation and stuff. But you know what? I would be down for a comedy if it was done well. Beyond the Batman was pretty cool. Hey. All right, let's get to one more from Griff, and then let's move on. I've been waiting to ask this question. I almost asked it last week.
Yeah, so I thought I wanted you to ask this question last week, and I almost asked it myself, but I didn't.
I gotta be selfish and say that I saved asking it because I knew that we were gonna do the question or part 2 this week, and I was gonna make this my headline for part 2. So here we go. In Metroid Prime Hunters, Samus was able to beat Sylux in a 1v1, even though Samus only had the Variasuit Power Beam and missiles. That's not much compared to what Samus usually gets at full power. Sylux also had his ship help shoot at Samus, yet she still won. So if Sylux is going to be a major aspect of Metroid Prime 4 and beyond, how can he seem like an actual threat? Would it be more of his tactical prowess or espionage instead of his skills in combat? So a lot to unpack there.
Wow,
I have a few
so
ideas
much to
here.
talk about here, and I'm already thinking of like wrestling theory. I'm like, let me talk to you about jobbers.
So first and foremost, if the game... We're going to assume that Sylux is a player in Metroid Prime 4, because we actually don't know that, and he very well could not be. I still wouldn't be surprised if Sylux isn't what we all think he might be in Metroid Prime 4. But let's just assume that he is, and he's the main antagonist. If you were to build him up throughout the game and he's doing a bunch of dastardly things, you can give him his heat back, and you can heat him up enough where he's a threat to Samus. Also, I mean, there's nothing to say that he can't upgrade his own armor. And if we're even gonna try and legitimize Metroid Prime Federation Force, if for nothing else, we know that Sylux has Metroid eggs or DNA or something. So he has access to those abilities and whatever, may come from that. And I mean, hey, look, in Metroid Prime 2, you smoked Dark Samus not once, not twice, but thrice. and she was the main boss of Metroid Prime 3. So,
Yeah.
it's not like it can't be done. I think I think that relative most people that are going to be playing Metroid Prime 4, again, assuming that Sylux is going to be the big bad guy in that game, will probably have never played Metroid Prime Hunters or even know who he is. So, for in terms of like your average player playing Prime 4, this is a brand new character.
Yeah.
So I totally get that idea, and I think it's a valid point. But I think that you can overcome that with good storytelling.
That's definitely a key aspect. Is that for a lot of people playing this game, they have no idea who Sylux is. The Sylux is a character that Metroid fans know, and even then, I would even guess that maybe some Metroid fans might not even know who Sylux is. But I would say a majority of Metroid fans do. But like, I would anticipate a lot of new players for Metroid Prime 4, a lot of new people checking out the game, checking out the franchise, who have never played Metroid Prime Hunters, who definitely didn't play Federation Force. I barely played that game, and I love Metroid. So, like that's like the only reason I know is because I just watched the cutscene on YouTube, which thank God for that. But yeah, so I think the thing is that number one, people aren't going to know who Sylux is. Number two, I think a big part of Metroid Prime 4 will Sylux, like you said, becoming strong, right? Like, sure, Samus might have been able to defeat him in Hunters, but in Metroid Prime, and we know since then, like Sylux has been like following or tailing Samus at Metroid Prime 3. As you said, got the Metroid at the end of Federation Force. So he's clearly like assembling stuff. He took the suit to begin with, right? Before Metroid Prime Hunters. So like the character's all about like not scavenging necessarily, but stealing and taking technology to become stronger, getting weaponry and getting an arsenal to become stronger, just like Samus does. And so I would assume that a large portion or a good part of Metroid Prime 4 will be about Sylux either becoming strong or having become strong somehow, and then Samus having to deal with it. Also, like you said, yeah, Samus took out Dark Samus multiple times. I mean, Ridley's what, like 1-7 in the series? Like, Ridley has a terrible record against Samus, yet he's still a threat when he shows up every time, and Samus has to respect him and actually fight him, either sometimes once or multiple times in a game. So I don't necessarily think that just because, Sylux has been defeated before that he can't be a major threat. He most likely will be. And I think that'll be a big part of the game. And the thing is, too, is that, like, I don't know, like, his performance in Hunters, like, you can't really chalk. Everyone loses to Samus. Like, Samus is the protagonist of the franchise. So, and I don't think Sylux was at full power at Hunters either. He was kind of just like a mini boss, right? So he's going to be most likely, I would think, like the main bad guy of this game. So he's definitely gonna be like written and gonna be given a lot more power and a lot more strength, based on what happens in the story of this game. So yeah, I don't see any problem with having Sylux be a really strong and major threat. I would assume he's also gonna use his ship. Like that's what heels do. That's what bad guys do. They try to win however they can. And that's like probably a part of his story too. The guy's like whoever it is a thief and takes stuff and is a bad guy, so they're gonna do that kind of stuff and still be a threat to a hero like Samus. So I think it'll still be believable, and I'm looking forward to see what they do.
Yep, totally. But great question. I
Yeah.
love that question. But let's move on to some of the other questions that we left out from last week. These are from our boy Noodles over on Discord. What's up, Noodles? He asks, Metroid Prime 2 had the unique concept of acquiring two distinct base beams very early in the game and having the third endgame beam be a combination of the first two. If they were to revisit this concept, what kind of beams would you want the first two to be, and how would the third beam combined work? So, you know what? I was trying to come up with an answer to this question, and I didn't really come up with one, and I was like, I'll probably come up with one on the fly as I'm reading it out. But I still don't have a great answer for this question, because I think like the light and dark beam were such a like unique concept that, and I don't know, like that was such a cool idea in theory. And even the Annihilator beam kind of combining them felt a little bit off kilter, but I don't know that I can think of another. Like, I think that you'd probably want, like, some kind of different element going at it, and that's the difference, and you can combine them. I mean, my answer is, like, I actually don't... I wouldn't really want this to come back. More so because, like, I think that Prime 4, or Metroid Prime 5, or Metroid 5, rather, should just, have a plethora of different beams, and not necessarily limit themselves to 4 again. But, yeah, I don't know. I still don't have a good answer for this. Well, Noodles, we'll try and redeem ourselves for your next question here. He asked, "What are each of your personal top 10 or so favorite Metroid songs, and are there any you listen to on at least a semi-regular basis?" So I have like a ton of Metroid music that I listen to just because I put it on the background at work. But like, I mean, man, I love Red Brinstar. That's an amazing track. Vendrana Drifts, obviously. Sanctuary Fortress. Ridley fight versus Ridley is incredible. There's not really a lot of bad Metroid music. I love the surface of SR388. I think is fantastic. The Golden Temple and Hydro Station from AM2R, awesome. Chozo Laboratories, Samus Returns is awesome. God, you know what? You know, as an underrated track is the Talon Overworld theme. Both when you first land on the planet, and then when it changes to like the second Talon Overworld theme. I think that's 10. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Well, I'm not gonna just like list off a bunch of song titles, but I will say that I listen to Metroid music semi frequently. I would say mostly my music like listening habits are like a mixture of both like video game music and not video game music, but I also listen to a lot of Halo and Doom music too. So, but that being said, I really like Metroid metal. I think that's if I'm listening to any Metroid music, I'm most likely listening to Metroid metal, and I have a whole playlist of all of Metroid metal on Spotify for that reason. So, if I'm listening to any Metroid music, it's very likely that I love the remixes. I also like listening to I don't have remember it like off the top of my head, but like there's a really like chill like Metroid playlist on YouTube. I think it might even have like rain playing in the
Oh
background
yeah,
or
I know
something
what you're
like
talking
that.
about.
Just a little. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Listened to it before. That stuff like that. I that's really more up my alley. So and I also recommend it as well.
There you go. All right, Noodles is back with another one here. Not too long ago, Nintendo announced their Mario-themed theme park in Universal Studios. If they were going to add a Metroid-themed area, what kind of attractions would you like to see? So, I don't know much about theme parks or whatever. I'm sure they could make a cool like roller coaster out of anything. But I do know I've seen the pictures of the Mario World, and in my mind, it would be like just so cool if there was like a little Brinstar area. They could have Kraid in the background, kind of model it after like Brinstar Depths from Smash Bros. You could have Kraid in the background. Maybe from there you could walk into like a little Norfair, and like there's fire, and like I don't know, maybe they could get some orange food dye and put it in the water and call it lava or something. I don't know, but I think that would be cool. It would just be like so cool to see some of that stuff come to life, because like the Mario stuff just looks so awesome. I think it's I don't think it's likely that Metroid ever gets that. I think it's probably more likely that Zelda has a wing in Nintendo Land. But yeah, that would be my pick. Is just like I don't know, do a cool like Pirates of the Caribbean water slide in Norfair, or like do you know that ride in Universal Studios where you're like riding the little ET bike? Make that guy Ridley instead, or Samus's ship or something. That's what I want to see.
I don't think there's any reality in which a Metroid theme park is ever made. I would be so very surprised. Yeah, they would probably do Zelda. They would do Animal Crossing, probably before that. Animal Crossing would be cool. I'd go to the Animal
I
Crossing
think they're
park.
actually doing Donkey Kong
But
next.
really,
Maybe
that's actually
maybe this is just rumor actually, but I could have swore I
I would
heard
be
somebody
very
say that.
surprised if they did
Well, I
Donkey
could have swore
Kong.
I remember something that said they were building like a DK jungle like level.
Well, that's different. I feel like I could see them adding to the Mario theme.
Yeah.
Because
That's what
Donkey
it is.
Kong's
That's what it
kind of
is.
Mario, you know. Okay, yeah, that's so like I could see them doing that. Like they added like a Metroid section, and they just like they added like Planet Zebes, and it has I don't know, has like Samus's ship there. You can go into Samus's ship and like check out the inside. I think that'd be really cool. Even though like I don't know, probably wouldn't be accurate or anything, but whatever, who cares? Maybe, like I think maybe they, you know, the in Disney World, the Buzz Lightyear ride where you can let you go through the track and shoot aliens and whatnot. In Tomorrowland, they could probably do like a Metroid version of that. That'd be cool. And I'm a big roller coaster guy, so I don't, you know, just honestly, if I were to, if that the Mario Land is cool and all, but it's not really like it's like a cool theme park. But when I go to I like roller coasters. So if you could give me just a Metroid roller coaster based theme park of just only like crazy big roller coasters and just I don't care, just name them after Metroid bosses. that would be sick. Like that, give me King to Cop, but I don't know. It's like the emergency escape mission or something like that, and you have to like get out into the top of the roller coaster, then escape or something. I don't know. Or there's like a Ridley fight, which is looks, it's like the Superman ride or something like that. I don't know. That would be my dream, is to have a bunch of Metroid roller coasters.
I ain't mad at that. I think that'd be cool. Um, okay, Metroid 35, which you can still apply for, by the way, to the fanzine over at Metroid 35, asks, if you could have any studio make a Metroid game, who would that studio be and why? This is an easy one for me and probably an obvious one. But man, I would love to see what Tom Happ could do with a team of people making a Metroid game. I love Axiom Verge. Axiom Verge 2 looks sweet. Man, just I would love to see this dude make a Metroid game. Failing that, here's another obvious answer, but Moon Studios. Whew. I mean, God, they already got Dr. M64 working for them. Like, give him the keys.
Yeah, those are not the studios that I would pick. But I know, because you want like 2D Metroids. That'd be dope. I would be down for those picks too. My picks would be, and this is the one I immediately think of when I think of a Metroid studio, is Platinum Games, because they made Vanquish, and Vanquish is a goat game, very underrated, awesome game. I don't know if any of you, it came out like, I think it came out like 10 years ago, like 2009, 2010. Obviously, Platinum's known for Bayonetta as well, and Bayonetta's really good too. And I feel like it could really work for like, this is the kind of game where I could see them doing like a sick either Metroid game where it's just regular Samus, or even like a Zero Suit Samus based game. Like, remember did the episode where we talked about like the kind of Zero Suit Samus?
I could get behind Zero Suit Samus.
They would be perfect.
I wouldn't have picked Platinum for a Metroid game.
But even if it wasn't Zero Suit Samus, I think it'd be awesome. I also would pick Insomniac. Insomniac, they do Ratchet and Clank. I don't know if you've seen the new Ratchet and Clank game, Rift Apart. I mean, I personally really like Ratchet and Clank games, but the new one looks amazing.
God, you know what? I'm looking over at my games
so
right now,
good.
And I'm looking at Ratchet and Clank, and I bought it, and I still haven't played it. Like 4 years later, I gotta
Ratchet
play it.
and Clank is awesome.
It looks awesome,
and I think they would do a Metroid game really well, and just like Platinum Games, I think they'd both do a third person Metroid game really well, like the right way. Both of them would do the right way. So I would love to see that. And then, other than that, I don't know. I don't know. Give Bungie the reins, maybe. I don't know. Bungie's not the same Bungie as it used to be, but that'd be kind of cool. I don't know. I'd be down for a lot of different experimentation, but I'd be interested in seeing 3D Metroids, like a 3D third person Metroid, a first person Metroid, tried out by a bunch of different studios. I feel like we get a little more. Well, then again, I guess Other M was also, that was Team Ninja, but yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
But like, that's the kind of Metroid, I guess, licensing or crossover I'd like to see in terms of studios.
Okay, well, let's keep it going. And our next question is from you. Is that right? You asked a question, but I don't know if you were posting it on someone else's behalf or not.
No, that was my question.
Well,
that's me.
Here, Dak from New York asks, Andy and Dak, what do you think about having not just more vehicle gameplay in a Metroid game, but having more vehicles beside just Samus's ship that you can use in a more interactive way? So, Dak, I feel like you probably have an answer for this question since you asked it, so shoot.
No, I don't actually. Well, I mean, I do have an answer, but that's not why I asked it. I wanted to know what your opinion was. I just asked the both of us because, we both host the show, and I didn't want to leave myself out because that'd be rude. But, yeah, so, I want to know what your answer is.
I'm open to the idea. You know what? I could be open to the idea. I do think it would be cool if you could pilot Samus's ship in some kind of way. I'm open to the idea of, like, especially if let's just say, for instance, that Metroid Prime 4 is more on the open world scale versus the traditional Metroid Prime intertwined world scale, which I could see being the case as well. I wouldn't be upset if there was like a stormtrooper like motorcycle or stormtrooper, good God, space pirate. May the fourth be with us. A space pirate motorcycle that you could commandeer and ride or whatever. Or maybe like some kind of like cool like Android or something, kind of like what Gore had in Metroid Prime 3, or dare I say what they had in Federation Force. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
be open to seeing that. Sure, why not?
Well, that's cool. Yeah, because I agree. I would love to see that kind of stuff. I think it'd be 100% definitely need at least like more stuff with her ship. I think that's one of my favorite parts of Metroid Prime 3. And I think I wish they had done more, but I think for the time they did a good amount of stuff. But yeah, I would love to actually pilot the ship and then more functionality while you're playing just as Samus, but with the ship as well. And then yeah, it'd be great. Like I'm not saying like maybe Samus needs more like Federation vehicles, though that'd be cool too, or like actual stuff she gets officially, but it would be awesome to like commandeer like space pirate stuff, or and like you said, that would be really cool if like she was like scavenging and it was using vehicles or like found like mechs like you said. Like that would be awesome, and I think would kind of really make the gameplay feel a little more diverse. Doesn't have to be like a major part of the game, but and also like you said, it would be a great way to make the game either more open world, or if the game is more open world, make it like maybe feel a little less slow instead of having Samus just walk around or having her like fast travel unexplainably somehow. So I'd be about it, and I'm happy to hear that you would be
Yeah,
about it.
I mean, I certainly have an open mind about it. I think if done right, it could be cool. Like it could be an addition, and there's not really a risk that there's nothing to lose on it. So why not? All right, let's keep it going. Big Griff is back here. Why has Metroid not dealt with time travel yet, and would you want time travel to show up? Time travel is one of the few big sci-fi tropes Metroid hasn't done yet. You know what?
It's not
Yeah.
easy. I don't, it's like it's so easy to mess up. I think that's really the biggest thing is number one, like it has to make not necessarily have to make sense with the story, but I don't know. There hasn't been anything like telling about time travel so far in the franchise, so I feel like it'd be out of place if it just showed up now. But also, it's like something that can easily be messed up or not done very well, or could make the story convoluted, especially for Nintendo games. Like we know Nintendo doesn't focus very like they go gameplay before story all the time, and Metroid is one of the few franchises, if not like the only one, that really cares about the story in its games. So like to then throw in time travel and potentially like screw all that stuff up, I feel like that's probably not even in their wheelhouse or consideration at all. So I'm not surprised it hasn't shown up yet. Not necessarily saying it can't be done well, but I would justify, I can see where they're coming from if they feel, hesitant about doing so, because I would justifiably feel the same way about incorporating that to any one of my stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how I would assume that's how they feel.
Well, so a couple things here. I would classify time travel more in like the fantasy realm than I would like the sci-fi realm, and that's might be semantics for some people, but to me, Metroid is somewhat grounded in. It's one of those series that like I could see this happening conceivably in like 2,000 years, kind of like The Expanse. Like you could conceivably see that happening one day in the future. Whereas like time travel is a little bit more far fetched. Another practical answer is like the Zelda podcaster in me is just like, man, we already got time travel in Zelda, and like that's just a mess when they do all the different timeline business, and like I don't know that Metroid
Yeah.
needs it. And the last thing for me with time travel is like I feel like a lot of times it feels a little bit cheap, because typically time travel is used to either undo something or retroactively fix something. So I don't know. I don't love it. I think that like in Echoes you have like the rift between worlds, which is I guess kind of like similar, and I could see where the idea is just like, well, what's the difference between a parallel world and like going backwards in
Yeah,
time?
that's true.
And to that I say I think that's a fair point, but I don't know. I don't think that Metro needs time travel necessarily. But I mean I wouldn't be upset to see it come into play, but yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to screw up for sure.
Yeah, my thing about it is that if when it becomes like a big part of the story, yeah, it can make it very volatile. Where I'm thinking of like Terminator, for example, right? Where that's a story that's about time travel, but the actual like plot of like the first movie, for example, isn't really about time travel, because like the Terminator comes back in time, but everything happens, in the
Right.
80s or whatever, right? So like I could see something like that happening, where like a character comes from the future or the past, but the game isn't, or the story isn't really about time travel overall. It's just maybe a character might have time traveled, and that might be an element of the story. So in that case, I could see that, because you're right. Like, I didn't really think about that. Like, alternate dimensions, is that really like that far off in terms of believability and like time travel? Not necessarily. Even though I might think if one's more believable than the other, I'd probably pick alternate
Me too.
dimensions. But at that point, it's kind of like it's subjective, and we're dealing with fantastical elements that are all hypothetical. So who knows? But yeah, I don't think it necessarily couldn't work in Metroid, but I don't know if it should be like a big part of a story, or part of the story in the whole like chronology of the franchise. At least not yet. At least if you're gonna do that stuff, maybe just let's wrap up the current story. Let's keep that, and have that, and then Samus finishes that up, and then if she wants to go time traveling, all right, I might be a little more open to it.
Dude, if there were time travel in Metroid, you can bet your bottom dollar you'd be traveling backwards in time to save Adam, and nobody wants that, so...
Yeah, that's true. Oh no, we're going to have to go back and play Other M again. No, never mind. I take that back. I don't want
Alright, let's keep it going. Chris06 asks, Metroid is often described as an exploration platformer, but is this actually true? It may not be linear like a Mario game, but certain areas are locked off until you obtain the necessary power-up, and there is an order to how you progress through the world. I believe exploration to mean you can go just about anywhere and have complete freedom, like Breath of the Wild or Red Dead Redemption 2. So I feel like this is just kind of another case of like semantics, or like your definition of, what a game is. Because to me, I look at Breath of the Wild or Red Dead and I'm like, well, that's more like an open world game where like there really is no structure, and the world is your sandbox. Where Metroid, I think, does have a little bit more structure, and I think that structure serves it well. But that's not to say that if you're not a skilled enough player that you can break that structure. We see that in 2D Metroid in particular. Well, actually, not even in 2D Metroid. We see that in all Metroid games in particular. If you're good enough, you can do, you can play the game any way you want.
Yeah, you can play out of order. Yeah, that's kind of, sequence breaking is, part of Metroid's DNA anyway.
Not necessarily through glitching either. Just like you can play Super Metroid and be just really good at timing and jumping and stuff like that, and skip entire power-ups and segments of the game. I can see your point where there is. I think the formula of Metroid, and I wouldn't describe it as an exploration platformer. I'd describe it as a Metroidvania game, and like that's the formula of Metroid and what's made it so famous and lasting over all these years. So yeah, I don't know. I would call it, I guess, exploration platformer, because that's the main goal of a Metroid game, is you explore your area and you jump on stuff, and But I think it's all just semantics.
Yeah. I'll be honest, before this question, I've literally never heard the phrase exploration platformer. So I've never heard Metroid as described as that, but maybe that's just me. Yeah, it's really just semantics. I mean, there's nuance to it, right? Like, I think just because a game might not be as open world as a Breath of the Wild or Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto or whatever it is, that it's not an exploration game. Like, they're all different kinds of exploration and varying degrees of it. Like, even Metroid Fusion, which is a pretty mostly linear game, still has some exploration to it. And I think really whenever you find yourself in an unfamiliar scenario, whether you're held your hand through it or not, you still are exploring it in a kind of a way. And yeah, so I mean, I definitely don't agree that a game has to be like Breath of the Wild, structureless for it to be a true exploration type of game. But also, like, exploration isn't a genre. Any kind of game, not any kind of game, but many different kinds of games can be exploration based or not. And Metroid isn't, I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as like a platformer either, because I don't think that's like it has platforming elements, I guess. I mean, I see it more as like just action adventure. It has elements of all different kinds of games. As you said, it's a Metroidvania. It kind of is its own thing too, right? Like it defined a kind of game by being what it is. So I don't know if you necessarily can translate that one to other different kinds of games. But yeah, so I think this is kind of just semantics. It's really, call it what it is, right? Like, who cares? I mean, me and Andy have argued about whether or not Metroid Prime games are like FPS games or not, but like, who really cares? It's
Matroid. It doesn't really matter. That's all it needs to be.
It's Metroid, exactly. So,
all right, a couple cool questions here from Focused Wombat, who found us just recently, I think this week. So shout out and thanks for listening, dude.
What's good?
First question, here we go. What is your preferred way to replay the games? Do you have the cartridges/discs? So my name is Dakota Lasky, and I only
Good
play
question.
Metroid Prime on Dolphin mouse and keyboard. That's my preferred way.
I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah, well, you're right though. If I'm gonna play a Metroid Prime game, that is the only way I play it. If I'm gonna play I guess it depends on the Metroid game because Nintendo is really bad at preserving its old games, so they really haven't given me a consistent way to play them. So that's really on them. Yeah, at least for me, if I'm gonna play a Metroid Prime game, so Metroid Prime 1, 2, or 3, I'm gonna play it on PC with mouse and keyboard. If I'm gonna play Metroid Fusion or Zero Mission or Hunters or Pinball, I'm going to play it on my DS or my Game Boy that I have in my nightstand in my bedroom right next to me. So I'm going to play it like that. Super Metroid, I'm going to play it off my Switch, most likely, or my Super Nintendo. And that's all of them, I think. I wouldn't really play the other ones. So, and Samus Returns on my DS. So, yeah, that's how I would play them.
Yeah, so I play Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 and Other M on the Wii U. I play Super Metroid and Nestroid on the Switch. I play Metroid 2, Return of Samus, Samus Returns, Federation Force, Pinball, Hunters on the DS. And I think I busted out my old Game Boy SP to play Metroid Fusion. But I play AM2R on the computer. And I wish that there was a way that I could play AM2R on a 3DS, but there is not, which I just wish that there was. But yeah, I think that's all of them. So lots of different consoles.
I want to do an episode on just Metroid Prime trilogy on Dolphin. We got to do it. I want to preach the good word more to the people. Play Metroid Prime Trilogy on PC on your mouse and keyboard with all the nice textures and the resolution and the frames and the control. It's so nice. It's so good. I don't even know how you could be making those sounds. It's the best Metroid experience. And you are truly, truly missing out on it. But hey, that you live your life. Live your life how you want to live.
All right. Talking about Metroid Prime here, Focused Wombat has a good question. Do you think the potential new 2D game would mimic the art style of Prime 4 now that they would be on the same console and could coincide with each other, or try a more animated look similar to a lot of the popular Metroidvanias on Switch? So, I feel like if there's going to be a 2D and there's going to be a 3D, like if there's going to be 2D Metroid, there's going to be Metroid Prime, I think that they should have like distinctive art styles. Not like completely like different, like I don't think it should be like animated, but like I think the look of Samus Returns was really good. They could do like the classic like Super Metroid look. I mean, obviously they wouldn't because that's probably going a little bit too far back. But I think that I actually think that the 2D and 3D games should play more similar to each other than they should look similar to each other, if that makes sense. I think that the Prime 2D demo showed us that like you can do scanning, you can do a lot of the cool things that Prime 3D does, and you can do that in 2D Metroid, and I think it should. But yeah, I kind of like that they look a little bit distinct from each other. And that being said, if they were the same design, I'd be totally cool with that too. But yeah, I do like that they look a little bit distinct. And just to throw one other thing in there, I hope that like Fusion did a really great job of when Metroid Prime came out. Fusion Samus was like completely different in a completely different suit, so it was really hard to compare the two. So I think that the next 2D Metroid should do the same thing, where it's like, this is a different looking Samus, and if the art style isn't like completely different, then make Samus herself look different. So yeah, that's my answer.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was not only going to say the first part, but I wasn't sure if we are going to say the second part, but I definitely agree. Like if they're going to have both, Metroid 5 and Metroid Prime 4 come out, gotta have Samus, I think, look distinctly different. And
okay, last great question here from Mr. Wombat. He asked, do you think they could mix up the genre a bit and make a roguelike Metroid, maybe a procedurally generated map? A game like Sundered comes to mind, or the more recent Returnal for PlayStation 5. I'm going to be honest, man. God, I hope not. I hope not. I'd rather play Metroid Prime on mouse and keyboards before I would a procedurally generated Metroid map. Not really my thing. Like I got Dead Cells about 2 years ago now, and like just heard rave reviews for it. It was like this wicked procedurally generated Metroidvania, and I was like, this looks like totally my thing. And I don't know, I just don't dig the ever changing map, because I feel like the part of the reward of Metroid and playing a Metroid game is like kind of taking mental notes and saying like I need to come back here later, or like I can see a power up here but I can't get it, and like how do I defeat my environment, and like I don't know, I just feel like that learning experience is lost with the procedurally generated map a little bit. I'm sure that a lot of people will probably disagree on that, but you know what? I don't really care for roguelike games either, to be completely honest. So I hope not.
It's interesting that like, you wouldn't want that because like it's about like learning your environment and whatnot. But I feel like a big part of roguelike games is the fact that you have to learn from your previous runs to adapt to like the next one, right? So I feel like, I don't know. It's interesting that you would say that, but I think they wouldn't. I don't think they should go full procedurally generated, like full roguelike, like full Hades or whatever. Because yeah, I do think there should be some structure and consistency to the environment. That's a big part of Metroid. Like, there's a big world, and you want to figure out what it is. And if the world's constantly changing, there's like less satisfaction in finding out what it all is about, right? I think, but I do think that maybe having some elements of that in a Metroid game could be cool. Like maybe an area, like a portion of an area, maybe changes, or I don't know, some areas have that kind of effect. Like maybe not making the whole game like that, but having some.
You know what? How about this? So maybe Samus, as like a bonus, has like some VR training missions to get ready for like the space pirates or something like that. That if that was procedurally generated, that could be okay, because then it makes sense that it is never the same because it's like a VR thing. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily against it. I think some of the like some really good games that have come out the past years have been roguelikes, but I definitely see where you're coming. I think there can be there's a balance. I don't think they should necessarily go all the way, but I do think that there are some things that Metroid could take from that genre that could work in Metroid games and still keep them as a Metroid game that we know and love.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I didn't articulate why I don't like them as much. Maybe I actually just don't know why I don't like them as much. I just know that I don't. Like they're not my thing. That's the best I could come to explaining it. But yeah, I don't know. I'll try anything once though. I'll say that. Well, all right. Let's get back to Big Griff. He's back with another couple bangers here. If Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion get a remake with Chozo memories for extra lore, what would you like to see the most? I don't know that I'd want to see Chozo memories in Super Metroid or Metroid Fusion. I thought that was kind of a nice gimmick unique to Samus Returns, because they were on like this Chozo planet. You know what? We talked about if Super Metroid got a remake, like I think that it would be really cool if you could play the intro part as Ridley, and that could be like your bonus stuff in that game, or like
that's
I don't know what
a
they
big
would do
jump.
That would be cool though, right? Like that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be
I don't know
cool.
I don't know what they do in Fusion, but maybe I don't know. I would rather if in Fusion if they remade the game, you could go back and like unlock kind of like secret like terminals or logs or conversations between like the dude in charge of like making the secret Metroid project. I think that would be cooler, learning more of like the conspiracy like side of the equation from the Federation than like Chozo stuff.
Yeah, so well, I guess they didn't necessarily mean just Chozo stuff. They just meant in general, like that kind of extra lore stuff.
Okay. Well, yeah, that would be my answer then for Fusion. I don't know that Super Metroid necessarily needs that.
So yeah, if Super Metroid Fusion get a remake, I mean, here's my thing. Like, I honestly don't even like. They mentioned the Halo terminals. I don't even like the terminals in Halo. Like for me, I don't like having to like read in a video game unless it's like short scans, or like it's a comic or something like that. Even audio logs eventually kind of get grating for me. Like if you're gonna give me the story, give it to me in the active plot. I don't like flashbacks and backstory through like that's never really. I mean, I get some people like that stuff, and to a degree, I don't mind it. Like I like scans, obviously, in Metroid Prime, but like those are, short and sweet. And BioShock does that, and like they have the audio stuff, like Halo 3 ODST or Halo ODST. That's like one where they have the audio logs, and that's kind of cool. but it's not like something like I love or like need in a game. For me, like I just if there's something important to the story, integrate it like actively in the story. Otherwise, I'm not, it's not, it must not be that important, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I totally can see where you're coming from there. But I think that if there was, what actually would be kind of cool is like when we did Batman Arkham Asylum, where you can find all like the tale of Arkham or whatever. Like if they did that, but it was like the tale of the conspiracy, that could be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is too is that again, I don't want like if that kind of stuff is going to be in the Fusion remake, why not just put it in the Fusion sequel? Like I add those things in the active story of the next game. I don't know if I don't need everything explained and showing off. Like I kind of like that Fusion just has like that Easter egg message and only a couple parts. Like that adds to the mystery and the suspense in the story. Like if you just go back and add all these conversations and all of this stuff and just start expositing in these like lore logs or whatever and these cutscenes or whatever, I think that kind of takes away a little bit of like the mystique and mystery of the whole story, which is a big part of it to me. So I don't know if I don't need any of that kind of stuff. You're just going to remake the game, give me nice graphics, have the game play as it did, maybe add another boss fight or something, and a couple new modes.
Voice acting for Adam.
Voice acting would be,
Voice
sure, fine, and like that's it. Like I don't need anything really else. And honestly, I don't even need remakes. If I'd rather new games.
All right, well here we go. Another remake question from Accursed Hunter: if Fusion got a remake, how much of Fusion's story, if at all, will be changed to make an Other M connection?
None.
I'm going to tell you with 100%, maybe not 100%, like 90% certainty, that I truly believe Nintendo will never acknowledge Metroid Other M in Metroid ever again. I don't think they will.
I really agree with you. I hope you're right. I think everyone is on board with that. I think everybody can kind of just look at each other and be like, and you don't talk about it. And that's how it should be. But also, like, at the same time, I mean, Fusion's story is already deeply connected to Other M. So, like, how much more of a connection do you even need? Like, Other M is literally about explaining stuff in Fusion. So, like, I don't know, like, what else would you change in Fusion's? I honestly don't even know what you would change in Fusion's story to make a connection in Other M that it doesn't already, that connection doesn't already exist, right? Like, other than, I don't know, if like maybe a reference to Anthony or something like that. Maybe Anthony shows up in a Fusion remake. That's probably the only thing. But even then, I don't see how that would make any sense, like why he would even show up, and I don't think there's necessarily a need for that. I think let's let it stay dead. Other M buried deep in the Earth's core. Don't reference it again. There's no need. It wasn't needed then. The game's never been necessary. There's no need to make a connection to it. I think it needs to stay that way.
You know what? I'm actually going to go on record and say I'm one of the guys that I wouldn't mind seeing like Anthony come back.
No, yeah, he should come back, but not in a Fusion remake. In my opinion.
Yeah, not in a Fusion remake. Just in like general, like in those who would know him from Other M, but like you could basically introduce him as if he was like a new character. You know what I mean? I would even go so far as to say if they made her less ridiculous, I would be fine with like Bergman coming back. I don't think you would.
I already
no. If they kind of retinker, well, I mean, whatever. I don't think they're ever coming back, so it doesn't.
But Anthony, I think Anthony is probably the only one of the few redeeming qualities of Other M, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think honestly, and I think most Metroid fans, even ones like myself who really don't like Other M, would not mind seeing him. And I think it would be funny if he showed up again and did like the Remember Me thing, because then it would actually be a funny joke or whatever. Instead of when it originally happened, it didn't make any sense and became a meme because it didn't make any sense. It would even be funnier if like Anthony showed up and Samus said like Remember Me, and then Anthony was like didn't get it, and Samus would be like, oh, what the hell? Like that would be great. Like that would be that would be some good writing right there. That would be a great bring him back. Yes, I would love to see Anthony come back, but not in a Fusion remake. Don't change the story of Fusion. Fusion's story is good. Maybe make it so you don't have to stand there and talk to Adam as much. But other than that, don't change the story.
Yes. You know what? I was gonna ask Griff's next question, but I think I'm gonna save that because I think we're gonna be talking about something like that very soon, and that might be like a whole episode worth. So I'm gonna get to Griff's last question here. If the space pirates are enemies in Metroid Prime 4, what would you like them to look like? And what is your overall favorite space pirate design? You know, I was actually thinking about this earlier today when I was looking at the questions. And, you know, I feel like most of the designs for the space pirates have actually been like pretty consistent over the years. Like, you know, obviously they looked a little bit different in Metroid Prime going from 2D to 3D, but like they didn't look drastically different. You know what I mean? So I'm a sucker for the space pirates in Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion. Actually, I think that the Aqua Space Pirates look really cool. This is one of those things where like if it ain't broke, don't fix it for me. I would love to see like space pirates just kind of look like I know space pirates look like, but just in like sick, better graphics and whatever. So yeah, I think that that would be my answer. Just kind of like how they look in Prime 1, 2, and 3, and you know how they looked in Prime 1, 2, and 3 isn't all that different from how they looked in 2D Metroid either.
I don't know actually, because when you look at the Space Pirates and all the different Metroid Prime games, they definitely kind of look a little different from one to another. Like I'm looking at them right now, because I looked at this too. They kind of look a little different. Like the Metroid Prime ones are very insecty. The second, like the Prime 2 ones are also insecty, but they're kind of like skeletons in a way too. Like they're almost like demonic looking. I really don't like the Metroid Prime 3 Space Pirates. I never liked them. They just, I don't know. They don't look like not that they don't look like Metroid enemies, but they always reminded me of like, I don't know, something from like Crisis or something like that, or I don't know, like Killzone or something. I don't know, like not Killzone, but like another game that's not Metroid. I never really liked their like smoothed out, like sleeker design. I like the insect, like weird look that they have in Metroid Prime. And like their fiery eyes too. I don't know why they had like the weird fiery eyes, but those are really cool.
The Zero Mission Space Pirate is the best, actually. I can't believe I didn't say that. That Space Pirate looks awesome. He looks like an evil Spider-Man, except he's got like claws instead of web slingers. He looks cool.
Yeah, the Fusion Space Pirates, like the purple with like they have like the whitish gray kind of hair in the back of their heads. I love that design too. And then I've also always been a big fan of the Dark Pirate Commando from Metroid Prime 2. That's a really cool design. That looks like they almost look like robots. That's kind of dope. And then the like flying pirates in general from the Metroid Prime series, also a really cool design.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so I think, Dak, there's one question that I skipped over because I didn't even know how to ask it. But I think let's end on this because I want to attempt to do this justice.
Wait. Oh, you're going to read it? Okay, you can read it.
I'm going to read this. I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing.
Oh, you got to read the whole thing. You can't not read all of it if you're going to read it.
All right, here we go. HKH asks, so I have a broken up Metroid Prime story proposal. This isn't actually a question, but we'll just give our thoughts on his proposal here. Sylux is actually revealed to be Samus's younger brother who wants revenge from the government after he's led a very isolated life. Meanwhile, Samus is dealing with the effects of what Phazon did to her body and focus a little bit more on her declining mental health. I feel like current generations of players will be able to really relate to that. Perhaps we can even get a boss battle that's actually in her mind. A scene where she's remembering the events of Talon or Aether, but is playable and it's different, almost horrifying. I guess like in WandaVision. I haven't seen WandaVision, so I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but okay.
You haven't seen
although
WandaVision?
There is an antagonist. Okay. No.
Let's check it out.
Dude, I don't subscribe to Disney+. Yeah, we'll talk about this later. Although there is an antagonist, it really focused on how Wanda is dealing with the death of Vision. That could work with Sylux as a villain. Samus doesn't really want to fight her younger brother because he's blood. As a final attempt at getting his revenge, Sylux merges with a Metroid but loses himself. Samus inevitably kills him. I guess unlike WandaVision, Samus doesn't really get the closure she's looking for. As a bonus cutscene, we could get her in a meeting with the Federation, with Samus being the one to recommend the complete destruction of the Metroids and volunteer to do it herself. She isn't quite thinking straight, although she's seen what a Metroid can do and her brother was the final straw. Also, since this would likely occur right before Samus returns, maybe we get more hints about the evil Chozo, or even see them. Woo!
There's a lot.
There's a lot
going on there, man.
I'm gonna start with the stuff I like in there. Actually,
okay.
I do like that something could happen and drive Samus to be like, I need to exterminate every Metroid, because as we like at the time, that made perfect sense in Metroid 2 because we didn't know Samus then. But over time, we learned that she, she'll take care of business, but she does have a compassionate side, right? And her just like exterminating the Metroids has always seemed a little bit like not uncharacteristic. Like I think
Is
that she
it?
still would do that, but like extreme, you know?
I don't know. I mean, she was
So
ordered to kill some bugs, right? I mean, if someone ordered me to go, if I was a space soldier essentially, or whatever, and they told me to go to some rock and burn up some space bugs or whatever, I'd be like, all right, let's go. I don't know if that's necessarily out of character.
well, okay, maybe not out of character, but I have seen people just say like, "Oh, she commits genocide," and blah, 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 and it's like, all right, man. Well, like
Not
maybe if
really.
she had some traumatic event happen to her and like she had like a personal vendetta against the Metroids,
I mean,
uh,
didn't the
that might
Federation
make
just
more
like?
sense.
I mean, the Federation knew how bad the Metroids were based on what happened in Metroid One, and then whatever, and so they're like, all right, like, well, you got to go kill him. I don't know. I feel like that isn't that part of the story
I
already explained.
I'm trying to throw our boy a bone here, okay? I'm just I don't mind this part. I don't mind this
I
part.
don't know. I that doesn't. The part of this that I liked was, I mean, I definitely think that Metroid Prime 4 should have some part of the story should be about like the side effects of the fact that Phazon is just completely removed from the galaxy, right? Like Phazon was widespread. It corrupted whole planets and people and all of that. Like that's not something that you just like shrug off, right? And sleep off and take some Tylenol. So I definitely think that, maybe not like a huge part of it, and maybe if it was just like physical stuff like Samus having some kind of effects from the Phazon, that would make sense. That I don't think is a bad part of this, but I don't know if I'm down
See,
for.
that's funny because I would shrug off phase and like it's gone, it's done, it's behind us. What's next? So I feel like Phazon is dealt with. But either way, let's move on to the real main event here, which is Sylux being Samus's brother. Yeah, no, I hate that. I hate that. You know what? Sylux doesn't need a backstory. He doesn't need a backstory. He's a hunter who's out to get Samus and he's out to get the Federation. If we're gonna get a backstory, then we can see maybe why he's after the Federation. But we don't need to know. Yeah, we don't need to know like I don't know. We don't need to know what he was doing when he was growing up. Yeah,
Sylux has some reason, or like maybe he was just a regular person, and I don't know,
yeah,
the
sure.
Federation, something like that. I don't know. It doesn't have to be too complex. Just give me a convincing, compelling reason for him to be motivated to do what he's doing, and then have him do more of that stuff in the active story of Metroid Prime 4. I think making like when you start to go into like family ties, it becomes melodrama, right? Like all of a sudden it's becoming like, surprise, like, oh my god, we're related. That's the stuff of soap operas, and I think Metroid's story really shouldn't really be about that. Um, you know, yeah, I don't. I mean, this idea I think has a lot of like I like the incorporating a phase and stuff. I don't think it should be a big part of the story. Maybe even like I always thought that like in a Metroid 5 sequel it would be, or Metroid 5 sequel, wow, Metroid Fusion sequel, where Samus like fights like an like a Ridley ghost or something, right? Like, or she's haunted by Ridley. That'd be a kind of like a similar idea to this, but that wouldn't be Phazon related. But when you start to get into like Sylux being Samus's brother and Sylux merging with a Metroid and whatnot, which I
And consider this too. Consider this. This idea probably sounds cool in like fan fiction communities, and I think HKH references that actually. It's a popular theory there. But if you're gonna pull off this idea that Sylux is actually Samus's younger brother, you have to spend a considerable amount of time in Metroid Prime 4 establishing that Samus has a brother, and you're probably going to have to establish her family life, and you're probably going to have to establish what happened to her as a child to separate her and her brother, and you're probably going to have to establish like all of this other stuff to get to this payoff that this guy is Samus's brother, and that's going to take place in the same game. If you were going to do this, like you should have planted the seeds many games ago, not in the same game and pay it off, in a couple hours later.
You have to like also explain how that fact never came up in Hunters or at any other time in the past. Like the fact that they're related, like that. I feel like that would be like I know Adam's brother's name, who is in a single scene in Other M, and the fact that Sylux and Samus are literally related directly has never come up. I mean, obviously it's not true, but like, yeah, they wouldn't be like if that were the case. It would feel so completely out of place because nothing has built up to that at all. Sylux already has build up in his character, so why not just use that? And again, like at the end where Samus is like, is the one to recommend the complete. I think Samus recommending the complete destruction of the Metroids is out of character because that's like a bias she has, I think, where I don't think she would have a bias. She's like a professional. She goes out there and she gets it done. She gets the job done. And she does what's right. So if she was a soldier back then or a hunter or whatever, and they were like, and they ordered her like, hey, you got to kill the Metroids. She just went through, the original Metroid and Metroid Prime games and all that. She knows what the Metroids are capable of. She doesn't need convincing, and the Federation doesn't need convincing. So I don't think anything having to do with Sylux is like something that needs to be like the final straw. I think by the events of just before Metroid 2 or whatever, they already had more than enough compelling evidence to get rid of the Metroids. And Samus, I don't think anybody would really need to be convinced of like, yeah, we kind of need to get rid of these things. They're kind of bad for everybody. Like I don't think anybody other than space pirates would agree that Metroids really need to exist. They didn't exist in the natural environment to begin with. So it's not like you're exterminating like a species that would be extinct, right? They didn't exist naturally in the environment. And Samus, I'm sure, would be like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea to have Metroids around. But then, and that's also what makes, the Metroid imprinting on her in Metroid 2 more compelling because she was, this is just a job. I'm just doing this. I'm just killing all these Metroids, whatever. And then she runs into the baby Metroid. She's like, oh, and like that changes that changes things, So like, there doesn't need to be this motivation. It already exists. Like it already exists. It's already happening in the story. It's already working. The gears are already turning. And that's a big part of what Metroid is already. But I do think there are some decent ideas in the story, but it is very fan fiction-y to be sure. But I appreciate the pitch.
Yes, and thank you for spoiling WandaVision for me. Not that I'm ever gonna watch it, if I'm gonna be honest.
Well, I've been spoiled for that show Invincible all week. I know all about that show now because everyone just posted memes about it, which are spoilers. So I'm like, oh well, I guess I might as well just watch it now because I already know what happens, I guess.
There you go.
But
yeah. Once again, everybody, thank you for all of your questions. We are out of time. We're going to do this again very, very soon, I'm sure. Of course, these questions came from over in the Omega Metroid Podcast Discord server. So if you are not a member, what are you doing? Get on over there and chat with us. We do AMAs. We're probably going to get some Smash going on here pretty quick. So make sure that you are a member and hanging out with the community.
Definitely. It's honestly, I'm very glad that we got the Discord server going. There's a lot of good regulars in the server and chatting. And honestly, like, even though we had a little fun with that last idea and whatnot, I appreciate everybody for throwing us your ideas and your questions and all that. Because I mean, we love doing that.
Yeah,
and we love
you know what?
This kind of episodes.
It takes a lot of courage to put an idea out there. So like,
yeah, for sure.
It's no idea is a bad idea. There are some things that we may like more than others, but, hey, we're just two dudes.
That's true. Also, wait, one more thing on my end. I wanted to say, I was thinking about this after we answered this question, but Griff's question earlier about how Samus was able to beat Sylux and Hunters and like whether or not he's a threat. I actually forgot to say this, but I don't know about you, but if you ever played multiplayer in Hunters, there are some really good Sylux players out there, okay? So if you ever played that, and if Sylux was as good as those people that played Hunters competitively or really good on online and whatnot, I would be very, 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 very worried about Samus's chances in Metroid Prime 4 because Sylux is going to be nasty.
There you go. That scene is still going on, by the way. So shout out to those guys for keeping the game
alive.
It is,
yeah. So we got to do an episode on that as well.
But we are going to get out of here for today. Of course, we want you to check us out over on Twitter. I am at Spateri316. Dak is at DakCity_, and we are at Omega Metroid Pod. And make sure that you're subscribing over on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, all the places that you get your podcasts. Leave us that sweet, sweet 5-star review if you think we've earned it. Once again, come and hang out with us over on Omega Metroid Discord. We'd love to have you. And until then, everybody, we will see you next week. Take care.